So it's been another decent week on the markets. I'm on a bit of a roll at the moment, which is good. But there were two trades that I did this week that were pretty simple to do, that I think anybody can do. You'll do it better if you've got BetAngel. But I thought I would do a quick video to explain those two trades and what was behind those two trades this week. Please like and comment on the video below. That will allow me to produce better quality videos and more of them in the future. If you're interested in learning to trade successfully on sports, then why not visit the BetAngel Academy, where we have more detailed videos. So, very often trading doesn't need to be particularly complicated. And in fact, there are a few things that you can do that are relatively straightforward. But where the skill comes is in the execution, not the actual trade setup itself. It's in actually executing the trade and making something of it when the situation occurs. Because opportunities occur all of the time and repeating patterns. You just need to be there to be able to do something about it and to perhaps be able to jump in just before everybody else realizes what is going on. So the first trade was slightly unusual. Have a look at this picture. This was on Oaks Day. It was the listed race towards the end of the day. But have a look at this picture of this particular race and tell me what you see in this particular picture. This is a picture of the favourite. And the favourite's going to post. He's perfectly calm, the jockey has complete control. So upon seeing this picture, I initiated a trade. And when you look at horses and horse racing in general, one of the difficulties that you have, one of the reasons that this is the hardest market to crack from a betting perspective, is there are so many variables. It's so sort of not random, because nothing's totally random, but there are so many inputs into what the price really should be that very often it's difficult to work out exactly what that price should be. And one of the factors that you have to take account of is the horse's demeanour. Okay, the horse has run well, it has a really strong form line, but you go to saddle up the horse and it doesn't like it, and you take it to the parade ring and it's getting a bit tetchy, and then there's a problem going to post. And therefore, if you were going to put your money down on a horse that exhibited that type of behaviour, you probably wouldn't if you were a professional punter. Now, your average Joe doesn't know that. They'll just have a tenner on the favourite anyway, especially if they've had a few beers. But your professional punter will be looking at all of those characteristics to figure out whether the horse really merits his money or not. So when you look at that sort of thing, you have to take account of all of those particular factors. And one of the factors that we're looking at here manifests itself if I show you another image. So when you look at this screenshot again, what you will see now is that we have two horses on this particular screenshot, and we've got the favourite in front of it and another horse, don't know which one that is, that's just sitting behind it. But can you notice the difference between the two of them? Because if you look at the favourite, you can see that its coat is very reflective and shiny, and you look at the horse behind it and its horse is very matte and non-reflective. So what's going on here? Well, the favourite is sweating up. And typically, some horses exhibit this characteristic per se, but typically it's something that is not normal. And when a horse starts to sweat up, it's usually because it's anxious, it's using up a bit of energy. And when you're looking at much, much shorter races, you want the horse to have all of its energy ready to run that particular race. You don't really want it using and expending energy on the way to the start of the race itself. So just the shine on that coat tells you that it is sweating up. And there are obviously other signs as well that you can pick up on a horse to see that it's sweating up. You very often see dried sweat around the saddle cloth and so on. So it's a funny thing to be looking at. However, it can give you a clue in the market as to what is happening or what is going to happen next within the market. Because people that were going to put money on the favourite probably won't do it if the favourite is sweating up. So they may just not back it any longer. And you may actually find people come in and actively lay the horse when it exhibits this sort of characteristic. So on this particular race, you may have seen it in the market before. You're busy trading something and then boom, the price goes out. And it may be, if you're not watching pictures, this is exactly what's going on. And in this particular race, that's exactly what happened. When I see something like that, then I'll naturally lay the horse, with the expectation that probably the backing will dry up, and in fact the price may start heading out in the other direction. So yeah, if you see a horse that looks recalcitrant, or there's a problem, or maybe it's sweating up in the way that you see with this particular runner, then it's probably an opportunity to definitely not back it, but there may be a lay opportunity in there as well. And on this particular race, that's exactly what happened. If we look at the graph on that particular race, you can see immediately the pictures became available, and this was down to the split second that these pictures became available. Everybody started laying it, or not backing it. It was one of the two. We can't tell specifically which sometimes, but you can tell that basically the price was going to drift. And that's what happened for the rest of the race. A little bit of support came back in because when it reached post time, it seemed to be pretty calm. But then a little bit of late laying came into the market from there. But one thing that you wouldn't do is you wouldn't be looking to back this horse with the hope that the price was going to shorten. If you're actively trading it and you saw that it was sweating up and none of the other horses were, then naturally you'd probably want to lay on or be on the lay side of that particular market. So yeah, a great opportunity to lay the horse and back it at a higher price later on within the market itself. So if I wind you forward to Derby Day, the Derby market was pretty interesting this year. Very big market, the biggest market that I've seen for about 10 years on the Derby. Most of that was due to the interest in the favourite and the fact that it was at a shorter price, so that tends to generate volume anyway. But I managed to pick off a pretty decent result from the Derby. So I always tend to do well at the Derby. It's one of those big races of the year that I get excited about, that I really want to get a decent total on. So I'm pleased that I managed to do that this year. But within that market, there were so many different aspects. I actually thought it was one of the more fascinating markets that have been around this year. But the opportunity I'd like to highlight to you in this market was on Hazapur. So everything was going pretty normally on Hazapur, and then all of a sudden, boom, the price goes absolutely flying out. Now, if you would have looked at Hazapur on the way to post here, you would have noticed absolutely nothing. It looked fine. There was absolutely no particular reason for the price to go that mad. When it does go mad like that, you sort of suspect that maybe there's a bot that has gone mad and another one jumps in front of it and so on, and then the market just loses its marbles. But it was a very, very odd sort of market overall, and Hazapur was a really sort of strange situation. But of course, upon seeing the price start to go rocketing out, I immediately turned my attention to the pictures again to have a look and see if I could find where Hazapur was, because maybe he was running off across the Epsom Downs somewhere, and maybe that was why his price went out. But no, he was absolutely fine. There were no issues, no reason to think that the price would go out. So that looked like a total anomaly to me. So when you see this in the market, what you should do is, as the price starts flying out, you try and catch it right at the top. You put a couple of orders in at a speculative price near the top of that, or when you see the price starting to head back in the other direction, and then you trade out at a much, much lower price. So you tend to find these opportunities come around completely at random, and you may have even missed it within the market. However, the tip that I can give you here is within BetAngel, if you use the automation or a servant, you can actually get BetAngel to monitor how much a price is moving, and if it moves quite violently within a short period of time, BetAngel can actually alert you to the fact that that has happened. It can do that by popping up a message on your screen, or you can actually get it to fire off a sound alert. So I use a sound alert, and often when you see me trade, in fact if you were to ever come here and watch me trade, or look over my shoulder or see me from a distance, you'll see I always have headphones on, or a loudspeaker, and that is because BetAngel is pumping audio alerts to me all of the time. It's telling me things that are happening within the market that I'm not necessarily looking at. So today I get an alert. I've no idea what is going on particularly within the market, but the alert gets me interested in it. I see that it's Hazapur. I have a look at Hazapur. Can't see anything wrong with the horse at all, so I stick in a few speculative back orders at the top end of the market. And what happens next? Well, sure enough, if you're in the market and something that you were trying to back is at a low price, at sort of 15s to 17s, and then you see it available at 30s, what are you going to do? You're going to back at the best available price you can, and arbors kick in, and bookmakers, and people hedging it, and people who can see the anomaly, and then of course that brings the price all the way back down to where it was from its extreme heights. So yeah, that was an opportunity that occurred in the Derby today, completely unexpected, totally out of the blue. And it does happen quite frequently. One of the best examples I can give you is this happened to Monbeg Dude in the Grand National a few years ago. But yeah, when the price spikes out unexpected like that and you can see no cause, then that's probably an opportunity to do a back to lay trade within that market, because you'll probably see the price come back at some particular point. The only time it wouldn't do, as we've learned at the beginning of this video, is perhaps if there's something wrong with the horse or the market doesn't like it, or perhaps it's running loose across the countryside. But on this occasion it wasn't, everything looked fine. So I just put in a few speculative back orders and then waited for the price to revert back. And in fact, that's one of the things that made a big contribution to my overall trade on the Derby this year. But anyhow, 2 little tips there for you, both of which are equally valid and that I traded this week, easy to understand. And if you want to get the best out of a piece of software like BetEngine, set it up to look for those sort of opportunities within the market as well. But yeah, decent Derby, decent result overall this week, and I can't wait for the next big meeting.